What's good, everybody? Hope you all are being safe in this time. Recently, I've been reading the Jamaican road code booklet, and it came to mind a few important safety tips that I definitely would like you guys to know about. So we're going to start this right now. So these tips are in no particular order. So as bikers, you know that we don't have a seat belt, right? We don't have a cage around us. So the best thing that we have to protect ourselves is wearing a helmet. Always try to wear a helmet. You know, I know that in some cases you're not going to be able to wear a helmet, because even me, when I'm riding in my community, I don't wear a helmet. So I'm not gonna bash anybody for not wearing a helmet. But in other cases where, you know, you're not confident in your riding ability, or you're going out on a long journey, or you're going to somewhere that you haven't been before or haven't been in a while, I would suggest definitely wearing a helmet. So the helmet is the single most important piece of our safety. And to be honest, I am tired of the statistics showing that most motorcyclists, the reason why they die is because they have not been wearing, or they weren't wearing an helmet. So if it's in your best interest, always try to wear a helmet. For the exceptions, we'll just let that slide, but always try your best to wear a helmet. Alright, so the other road safety tip that I have for you is speaking about stopping distance. Now, what do I mean by stopping distance? Basically, what I'm talking about is ensuring that you, the rider, have enough distance between yourself and the vehicle that's in front of you, whether it's another biker or a car or a truck or whatever. You know, always ensure that you maintain a car length apart. The main reason why you should do this is because bikes don't have the stopping power as other four-wheel vehicles. You know, we only have two wheels that are in contact with the surface. So unlike most other vehicles, that's what we have. So basically our stopping power is cut in half. So always ensure that you keep a car length apart. I know there are going to be, you know, situations where you can't really keep the car length apart, but always ensure that you have like an escape route, and that will also be in one of the listings I have here. So if you cannot keep a car length apart, ensure that if the vehicle in front of you, you know, makes a sudden stop, you have that bailout route, you know, whether it's left or right, you know, you can bail out and avoid hitting that person's vehicle. Because, you know, in many cases it's better to maybe run your vehicle off the road rather than to run up in somebody's vehicle and have to pay them $10,000, $15,000. You know, in other cases it's, you know, I won't say. Additionally, when the road is wet, try to maintain even greater distance, and also slow down, slow your speed, right? Wet road equal minimum traction or minimal traction, so you're not gonna be able to stop as quickly as you can on the dry surface. So just bear that in mind when you're riding on the wet road. Keep even a greater distance from the vehicles ahead and slow your speed. Alright, so the next one up is actually riding in fog or smoke. So typically, if you're riding or driving and your vision is obscured or you can't see properly ahead, common sense is going to tell you, hey, turn on your light, put it on high beam so you can see properly, right? But unfortunately, that's not the case when you're riding in foggy or smoky conditions. It's actually the opposite. So what you want to do is to dim your headlight, right? Because using high beam in this case, it will be useless. So what you'd have to do is to dim your headlight And also, if you have fog light, you would use only those. And also remember, you have to reduce your speed because you're not going to have that clear visibility, and the cars or vehicles behind you won't have that visibility as well. They only can see a tail light, right? So keep a safe distance behind the vehicle in front of you as well, because they can be braking and you may not be able to see that as well. So riding in fog or smoke, do not ride with your high beam. The high beam is going to basically glare off whatever is in front, the smoke or the fog. Once you ride with high beam on in a fog or smoke, you will realize that it's actually worse than riding with no light. So the next tip is not overtaking unless you are completely sure it is safe to do so. Now, time and time again, I've been victim of it myself because I've done it and I've seen other persons do it. For the persons who haven't read the Jamaican road code book or don't read any road code book overall, typically when there's a white line, unbroken white line they call it, it means it's not safe to overtake. Now if the line is broken, they call it a broken line. Once that line is broken, it indicates that hey, you can overtake once it is safe to do so. So pay those road markings attention. To be honest, the Jamaican street, we have little road marking, right? So if you do see them, just make use of them, read them and understand what they're saying. There are also some locations that you do not want to overtake at. The number one would be, of course, around a corner. Do not overtake where you cannot see the oncoming traffic, right? That should be common sense. Now, some of the others may not be common sense, so don't worry, that's why I am here. Do not overtake at a pedestrian crossing. This is a big no. And you can actually get a ticket for this, I hardly see Jamaican police officers giving fines for this, but you can actually get a ticket for this. Also, railway crossing. Now, I'm not going to play, like I am any saint, but I have overtaken at railway crossings a lot. Because why? The vehicles in front of them slow down. So why? When they slow down, you have the opportunity to overtake. But in truth and fact and by law, you're not supposed to overtake at a railway crossing. Alright? Point blank. Also, you're not supposed to overtake at a junction. That's a big no. You also can get ticketed for that. But as I mentioned, the Jamaican system, the police, them, I don't know, but them hardly do it. But you can get ticketed for that. And lastly, as I mentioned, do not overtake on a corner or a bend. That's common sense. You don't want to overtake where you cannot see the road. Alright, so next up is be very careful when you're riding beside semi-trucks or semi-truck, be very careful. The main reason is because these are very large vehicles and any little turn, swerve, it may affect you and it may lead to something worse than what you want. Also, there are situations where the tire blow out on a truck, and then if you're next to it, you will be maybe in a ditch, maybe end up in a gully or in oncoming traffic, if you're trying to avoid that tire. So either you stay way back behind the truck or you move up in front of the truck, but never try to stay beside a truck for too long. And also, if there are two trucks in front of you and the only way out is to overtake, if you're going to do so, do it very quickly. Don't take your time and overtake between trucks, because if those trucks decide to come close together and you're taking your time going in between, that may not be good. In many cases, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I'll go ahead and put a card up ahead. but in many cases, in all cases, you must ride as if no one knows you're there. Additionally, turbulence is something that you can experience on a bike. On a plane alone experience turbulence. So like large vehicles, and it can even happen with cars if they drive by you very fast. Large trucks especially, they cause wind turbulence, and once you get caught in this turbulence, it can set you, it can set you up for a really bad day if you're not able to control your motorcycle, or even if your bike is very light. Alright, and to keep this video very short and spicy, the last tip that I'll have today is to leave room for an escape route. Now, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to go into it a bit differently this time. So earlier I mentioned that if you have to stay close to a vehicle, ensure that you have an escape route. But in this case, especially when you're at a stop, whether a stop sign or a stop light, or whatever, always ensure that you stay in gear. I mean, it's a good thing to know. I will actually go further into this, because when you're at a stop light or a stop sign, when you're at a stop in general, you want to ensure that if you're the first vehicle at that stop, you want to ensure that any vehicle that is coming up behind you, you can see them clearly, and you can judge to see if they're going to stop or not. Because if you're there at the stop and you're not aware of what's going on around you, and a vehicle just come right up and just hit you down, of course they're wrong, but at the same time it could have been avoided if you were paying attention to what's going on. One of my friends had an accident because of this. I can't really blame him, because he literally just pulled up to the stop, right, and then the light turned green, right? So him stopped, light turned green, and the car that was behind him kind of saw that the light turned green and just floored it and just straight into him. So you want to ensure that whenever you're at a stop, keep your bike in gear, right? Always check around. If you're the first vehicle at the stop, right? Keep your bike in gear, check around, see if there is another vehicle coming up behind you, right? Check your mirror, just ensure that that vehicle that's coming up behind you stops right behind you. Once they stop, then you probably can set your bike in neutral or turn off your bike and relax a little bit. But what I normally do is, when I'm approaching a stop or a stoplight, I go through the traffic, and the very first vehicle that's there before me, if there's a vehicle that's there before me, normally I go in front of that vehicle there. So a lot of car persons may not like you because of this, but it's you protecting yourself. So normally when I'm going up to a stoplight, I see a vehicle there already, I go in front of that vehicle and I can just kind of relax. Alright guys, so those are my few road safety tips. I really hope that you guys, if you did not learn anything, I really hope that I reinstated something in your memory that you knew already but maybe you were not practicing. So definitely go ahead and execute these on the road, and I can assure you, you'll have years and years and years and years of bike riding. Remember guys, stay safe. Thanks again for watching the video. If you liked, go ahead, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, share with a friend. Thank you very much guys. Bless up.